Sup guys, Spyder here with Ruin Gaming, and today I'm going to be giving some feedback on Star Wars The Old Republic's Warzones. Now I'm only going to be addressing the level 50 endgame Warzones and their issues, as I don't really care that much about the 10 to 49 bracket, so please keep that in mind with everything that I'm saying. So let's start off with everyone's favorite Warzone, and that's Hutball. Now I have to say, when I first played Hutball, it was amazing. I was like, oh my god, this could totally be an esport, and I would totally watch an 8v8 Hutball tournament. But then again, I like to watch random things, or at least so I've been told. Anywho, while I do like the design of Hutball, I feel like there are a few issues with this place that need to be addressed. Let's start off with the fire and acid, which are supposed to be deadly, or at least almost lethal. Now once people start getting Battlemaster gear and they start sitting at about 16k health, they can basically run through the fire or tank the acid without worrying about it killing them unless they're already at low health. Now these environmental hazards are supposed to be deadly or almost lethal, so please make the fire and acid do percent base damage rather than a set number. Maybe make the fire do about 20% of your health per tick and the acid do about 10% of your health per tick. Something like this would make it so people would avoid these effects instead of being able to run right through them. And yes, I do understand that people are going to grip you into the fire and acid more often or stun you in them, but at the end of the day, people are supposed to be using them to their advantage whenever possible. Now the second thing I did want to talk about is how there is a clear advantage to having certain classes on your team for a Hutball. Like how a Jedi or Sith can basically just leap around the map with the ball, or how a Sage, Sorcerer, Assassin, or Shadow can basically sprint around the map or pull someone to them. However, I do feel like if BioWare did something kind of like how if you're holding the Hutball you can't leap an enemy or friendly target, or you can't get pulled by a friendly, then maybe Hutball would be a little bit more balanced. But at the same time, I feel like one of the main issues with this isn't the classes, but it's more or less the players. And I'm talking about the players who don't fully understand how to position themselves in Hutball. Now the perfect example of this would be the new players that don't fully understand Hutball or how to position themselves. Like when a Jedi or Sith have the ball in your pit and the rezzers come, instead of going up the ramp and starting to attack or dropping down away from them, they'll always go and stand near the ledge and start DPSing or healing or whatever, and then they'll always get left and the point will get scored. Now I feel like these type of players are the players that are causing a lot of the issues in Hutball, and I feel like if players actually knew how to position themselves, and if you were playing on a full 8-man team, then you wouldn't have these type of issues. Alright, now that we're done talking about Hutball, let's move on to Alderaan. The major issue I know of right now with Alderaan is I know that you can stealth cap nodes, which basically means exactly what you think it means. Now I guess something I would like to see with Alderaan is not being able to jump over the walls or onto them, because I can actually defend mid turret and a side turret if I have force sprint on my class. Because I can just sit on the wall and reach the mid node with all my AoE attacks that aren't affected by the node's line of sight. And if someone starts to cap the side turret, if I pop my force speed, it gives me enough time to actually reach that player before they cap it and hit them with any spell I want. So I'd like to see this change simply because of the fact that I feel it allows players to move around too freely when they're trying to defend 2 node points. Finally, we have the most imbalanced Warzone in the history of Warzones, and that's Voidstar. Now there are 2 major issues with Voidstar that need to be addressed. And that's exploiting the wall glitch, and that needs to be permanently fixed. Just make it so if someone does get outside the starting zone before the game starts, that they get teleported right back into the waiting area with everyone else. That's what World of Warcraft is doing, and that's what you need to do. Now the second issue is the doors are way too easy to defend at the moment, simply because of the fact that the defender's res point is way too damn close to that door. If you take 2 equally skilled premates and put them in Voidstar, then it's going to be a full 16-minute game because of the fact that neither of them are going to get past the first door. Now assuming for some miracle you do get past the first door, then you can jump across the gap in the middle if you're an assassin, shadow, sage, or sorcerer, because force speed gives you enough speed to make that jump. Also, any class with a 35-yard AoE can sit on top of the wall thingy-majig that you drop onto when you're rezzing. And you can reach both doors with that AoE, and it can hit anyone trying to cap at any range. Now, if by some miracle you do get past the second door, if a defender dies fast enough and they res, they can actually get back and prevent you from getting any of the 3 walls. Now, by some miracle you do get those 3 walls down, or one of the walls down, or whatever, and you get to the last door, then probably time is up. And if time isn't up, well then if you just wipe out the defenders really quickly and you don't die, and someone ninja caps and, you know, the stars align, then you'll get a cap, you'll blow up the door, and you'll capture the Datacron. Now in the first area, you need to move the offensive res point about 15 yards closer to the middle, and you also need to move the doors about 10 yards away from the defense res point. Now in the second area, you just need to get rid of that gap in the middle or put a permanent barrier up so you can't jump across it. You also need to move the doors about 15 yards away from the defense res point, or you need to get rid of the thingy-majig we dropped down onto, or shorten it so that when I stand on the edge of it, I can't hit the doors with my AoE. Now in the third area, the 3 walls, you need to make the barrier go all the way up and all the way down, because I can position my toon correctly and AoE and single target from underneath, and I can also AoE and single target from above. It's very weird and needs to be fixed. Also, the 2 doors in the third area, I haven't had any issues with them simply because of the fact that my games don't last that long. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say that they probably need to be moved 10 yards away from the defense res point, because given all the other issues with it being too close, I'm pretty sure that these are gonna be too close. Now I know this is in the upcoming patch notes, but BioWare, you cannot fucking announce you're going to fix an exploit. All the Warzones I've done since you put up that goddamn note have all been exploited. Half have been on my team, half have been on the other. Everyone's doing this exploit now while they can, because they all want to get the wins in very easily. Like seriously, I've never seen a company post on their patch notes for their game telling players about a fucking exploit they were fixing. We're PvPers. We want to win. If there's a fucking exploit to do it, we're going to go out of our way to find it and exploit the fuck out of it. Anywho, let's move on and talk about the resolve bar and how it still needs tweaking. Why is it that I can have a full resolve bar, yet I can still get rooted and snared? This is a core PvP mechanic, and currently it's not living up to player standards. And because of this, you have a lot of pissed off PvPers. Just make it so if you're affected by 3 forms of crowd control, snares, stuns, knockbacks, roots, whatever, then you're immune to CC for whatever amount of time, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever you want. Another issue with Warzones is the fact that you don't punish AFKers, players that leave the Warzones before they're over, or give players a window to get back into their Warzone after getting DC'd. Like if someone's AFKing due to real life things that come up, that's fine, it happens to everyone. I'm talking about the AFKers that sit at the node and watch you die, or are sitting in stealth way off in Africa. Make it so that if 6 of the 8 players vote them as AFK, they get removed instantly, or if you're not at a node for more than say 45 seconds without doing damage or healing someone other than yourself, then you get a 30-second debuff on you that when it expires, you either get no Valor from that Warzone or it instantly removes you from that Warzone. Also, if you leave a Warzone before it's over, then give that player a 30-minute debuff that makes it so they can't gain any Valor or they can't queue for a Warzone. Or if 30 minutes is too harsh, then make it 15 or whatever you want. But you need to start punishing these players that are leaving the Warzone simply because of the fact that they got queued into a map they don't like. Now as for the players that get kicked because their client randomly closes on them or they legit DC, you need to give these players a 2 to 3 minute window to log back into the game. If they don't log back in, then yes, remove them from the Warzone. But I hate it when we're about to win a game, or I'm doing amazingly and getting awesome footage, and then all of a sudden my client just randomly closes on me and I get removed from the Warzone. Like, it honestly makes me rage a little bit, no joke. Now it would also be nice if you implemented a battle group type system for Star Wars, and if you made it so all the future Warzones and even the 3 Warzones currently didn't have a faction versus faction limitation on them. Make them all like Hutball so I can fight my own faction and the other team's faction. This, on top of a battle group system, would make it so there's virtually no queue times, which is something a PvPer wants. Another thing is that 8v8 gets boring really quickly. Give us some mass PvP war zones that are like 32 versus 32, either making the objective to kill the other boss in a fortress, or just have it so we have resources and every time someone dies you lose a resource, and first team to lose all their resources loses. Now once you have a working battle group system for Warzones in Star Wars, then you can add a rated Warzone bracket into the game. Now, you have no choice but to do this for your game, because if you don't, you are going to lose all of your PvPers, because we're going to have no point in playing your game if we have no competitive aspect to play in it. When you do add something like this, do not make a matchmaking rating like World of Warcraft did, because we will exploit the fuck out of it. Usually I would have a suggestion here, but I personally can't think of a way that would be, semi-balanced. Perhaps if you know one for BioWare, you can post it in the comments below. Finally, I feel like this is relevant to Warzone, so I decided to add it at the last minute. I feel like I should be able to buy Battlemaster bags and future bags above Battlemaster with commendations. I personally would pay something like 200 champion commendations for a Battlemaster bag at this point. To me, the RNG factor makes the game grindy before rank 60, but after rank 60 you only give us 2 bags a day with the exception of weeklies. This basically means that above rank 60, while obviously there's a point to grind to rank 100 Valor, there really is no reward to the grind. With champion bags, the reward of the grind was being able to turn commendations into bags, which equaled gear, which equals players being happy that they got said gear. With Battlemaster gear, it's more like do dailies, get bags, get no commendations, get angry and log out. Like, I have done the Aeon PvP grind, the vanilla WoW PvP grind, the season 1 to 4 arena grind, but this so-called grind is a grind until rank 60 Valor, gear-wise, but after that, while Valor is still a grind, I'm getting no rewards for doing this grind past the rank of 60. To me, this is something that needs to be addressed. But as always, I would love to know what you guys think about Warzone so far, and what changes or suggestions do you have for BioWare about Warzones and future Warzones. Please be sure to leave them in the comments below. Also be sure to subscribe, like, favorite, and check us out at ruination.com.